So I see this combine every time I go to my combine shed. I go past this. Oh wow, and there's another one there, look. So this is actually, I really didn't realise. Oh wow, and there's another one down there. That's quite, what? Wow, look at that. That's amazing. I didn't realise all these were here. But I'm going to try and see if I'm not going to put these up unless I get permission. But I do believe that that's a 970. So that's your stand. That's like the first sort of shape of the 900 series, which came after the 30 series. So you're talking 1970 sort of 2, 3 up to sort of like 75, 76, and then the sort of 975 come out, and then you had the 1100 series in the early 80s, and I think it looks like there's a 975 down there, which was my favourite one. But yeah, I mean, this has been here some years, so you can't really get too close to it, but all the weeds, as I say, I'm not quite sure who owns these, but the gate was open, and obviously I'm not going to do anything to them. And if I see somebody, I'll ask permission about it. But you can see the rot has clearly set in. I mean, these were, I think these, you know, they weren't made out of the best steel ever. I think in this country you had the issues with the weather, which didn't help. And obviously, you know, where these combines were built in Europe, they weren't quite so prone to rotting because of the weather. Way up, nearly killed myself. Yeah, it's a little bit dangerous around here, but see if I can get close enough to it. So there's the serial badge, isn't it? So yeah, I was right. It's 970 970887. Yeah, I'm not sure what it means in German. Zeebruggen. That's where it was built. Me and a chap I used to work with. Well, I mean, this was here. You're talking 15 years ago. This was here then. So I presume it's been here about 20 years. But me and a chap I, like I say, used to work with, used to help him out on his farm. We were on about getting these and selling the bits off them, but we just, you know, we never got round to it. Ow, I just smashed my knee. Ow. Header trailer by the look of it. I found out it was a header trailer when I smashed my knee on it. Right, let's go and have a look at this one. There you go, look, 975. It's yeah, somebody smashed the window, hasn't it? I think I must have been down here before and seen it before. But do you know, yeah, like I say, it's a shame, you know, is it a shame? I don't really know, but do you know what? I remember I used to see these when I was a kid, and I used to think they were a fantastic looking machine, really. Like, for me personally, I quite liked the way they looked. Are they any good? I don't really know. They didn't seem as popular around when I was growing up as the New Hollands did, and probably the Class. So they come in behind that, in a sense, for some reason. And you know, I don't really know enough about them to sort of comment on exactly why. But I mean, do you know, if I could find a decent one, I would be happy enough to have one. If I had, you know, I'd have to justify its means though. If I was cutting more acres, I would quite happily have one. I know a chap who's got a 965H, which would be a fantastic combine, a hillside one, down in. I've visited him, so I've done videos on his place before. Scavenge Farm. I should know his name. It's been a while since I've seen him. I'm terrible with names, but you know, yeah, it makes you wonder why it ended up here. I bet there weren't much wrong with it. I bet they just had they probably let it run, you know, they probably anticipated that it was going to be replaced, and you know, they just ran it and ran it and ran it, and eventually it was just like, right, it's time to get a new one. That's what tends to happen. But yeah, I won't get any closer to it. I might pick some of these blackberries though. Look at these. Wow, look at that. That's a beauty. It's a bit early for blackberries. Mate, that's something else out there. Wow. Nice. That was a good blackberry. There we got a senator. So that looks like that was probably there the longest out of all of them. Well, I presume it's a senator. You know, they had different, they had Mercator as well and other ones. At some point, a Mercator and what was the other one, Protector, that were similar shape, and then they all became Senator, but they kept on the other names in Europe apparently for the European market, but for the UK market you had the Senator 60, 70 and 80, I believe, and then obviously you had the 65, 75 and 85. Yeah, you know, the Alice Chalmers, the chap who designed the Alice Chalmers 5000, John Deere, he was commissioned to design it alongside the similar lines and styling to this combine, these class senators, because these were the market leader at that time in the late 60s. You know, these were the ones that people were going for at that point. And yeah, he was commissioned to make them look like it, because he obviously, styling you know, you would think it'd all be about performance, but styling plays a big part in people buying stuff. You know, the combine, even though it's a machine to do a job, the way it looks makes a difference. So they reckon, the researchers who did the marketing research, and yeah, and unfortunately the Alice 5000 didn't take off, and it was kind of the nail in the coffin that sort of, in a way, didn't sort of, it was the final blow for Alice UK really. But just thought you'd like to see these machines as they are like this, because you don't see this kind of stuff that often anymore. There are those of us who are old enough to remember, you know, the 70s, well, I can't remember the 70s, but the 80s and the 90s, when, you know, you had these all over the countryside, started about, obviously the earlier generations of these, you know, the Senators, the Matadors, and you know, the ones from the early 60s and the 50s, you'd see them dotted about here and there. And they, of course, most of them have all been took away now, and there's still one or two about here and there in the nettles. But this is how it all started for me, you see, seeing combines like this. See, a Gleaner, that was the first one I ever saw like this. It was a Gleaner, humpback Gleaner out the back of Greatworth, and it just triggered something in me about combines that, yeah, that's just lasted my whole life. So yeah, well, I said there used to be another one of these up the road, actually, just on the end of the farm driveway, and there was talk, me and my friend were contemplating trying to get them, but it just never happened, and that one's gone now. But yeah, I'm going to try and get this. Okay, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.